Thank you for joining me on Facebook Live de Telemundo. Nice to have you here again. Please share this information. We want to get these numbers high so that more and more people can get free immigration information and legal advice. Of course, cursory legal advice, but it's legal advice nonetheless that will at least give you some guidelines and it'll give you some strategies to then go and seek proper legal advice one-on-one with an immigration attorney. But at least here you get a little bit of background and you know what kind of possibilities or options may be available for you and explore them at depth with your particular fact pattern and your history so that you get the most accurate and best advice for you and your family. Well, the tip of the day or the information today is that I get feeds every day from Washington, D.C. on what's happening nationwide. And unfortunately, at the top of the list continues to be immigration scams. When there is a change in immigration, if it's positive, the immigration scammers come out. If it's negative, the immigration scammers come out again. Why? Because they want to prey on people's fear. And of course, there's a lot of it going on right now. I have never seen so many political asylum applications being submitted on behalf of people that are coming from countries of total peace, zero problems or very little problems, and they're applying for political asylum. Now, why are scammers filing asylum applications for applicants? Well, they're telling them that if they file an asylum application, that eventually it'll get denied, and this is the shortcut to see an immigration judge. And once they're before an immigration judge in court, that they'll be able to pursue a benefit and maybe get a green card. First of all, they're filing frivolous political asylum applications, and that can hurt the applicant later because immigration later will say, or the judge, wait a minute, you filed this application, sometimes full of lies that the immigration scammer has invented and put on paper for the applicant. Then they get denied, then they go before a judge, and then before a judge they're going to ask for some kind of relief, and the judge is not going to be very happy to see that most of the information that was filed in an asylum application before the case was brought to his or her attention is fraught with lies. So be very careful. Not only are they charging thousands of dollars to file for political asylum, to later charge another set of thousands of dollars for the second part for defense before an immigration judge. But most of these scammers, what they're telling people is that before a court in immigration court, they can proceed to request what's called cancellation of removal. In the immigrant community, it's called the 10-year case. If you've been here more than 10 years, you can apply for a green card. Well, if it was that easy, we wouldn't have 11 million undocumented people living in the United States if it was just having 10 years. It requires having 10 years, children born in the United States, parents that are either lawful permanent residents or citizens of the United States, or a spouse that is the same. So those are just the basic requirements. On top of that, you have to show that you have excellent moral conduct. And lastly, that it would cause extreme emotional or physical damage or pain or hardship to those family members that are citizens or residents. And that's a toughie. They're not talking just, oh, I would miss my husband if he's no longer here, or I'd miss my child or my parent. They're wanting to see extreme hardship, and that's a very high standard to meet in immigration court. Nationwide, I would say that between 1 to 3 cases are ever approved in immigration courts. So for these scammers to not only charge people thousands to file an asylum, then to jump over into immigration court, charge them another set of thousands of dollars to then defend a case, to then have 97% possibilities of being denied and sent back to the country of origin without any relief. So unfortunately, the scams are up. Please, please, please share this information. Tell people that you know that maybe are enticed to do this. Unfortunately, they're advertising on radio and print, some even on television. And unfortunately, people fall for these scams because of the great need and desperation and fear. Another thing is there are tips to there's never a way to really know, but in my experience, and remember I've been doing this for 3 decades, is that certain elements are red flags. If a person tells you they're coming to your home to fill out the paperwork, red flag. If they're telling you to meet at a local coffee shop, not in a business, in a law practice, in an office setting, Another red flag. If they're wanting all their money up front, and these people are charging $10,000 and up, so it's not small change that they are stealing literally from people that are very hardworking and are looking for relief. Another red flag is if they say notary, or if they say, well, a notary in Latin America is an attorney, not in the United States and many other parts of the world. So if you see notary anywhere on a business card, run, because they're not supposed to give legal advice. Only an immigration attorney can do that. Also, if they say they're a lawyer in their home country, oh yes, I'm a lawyer in Guatemala, I'm a lawyer in Mexico, I'm a lawyer in another part of the world. Well, to become a lawyer in the United States is a difficult task, not only going through law school, but passing a state bar exam. So you're a lawyer in another country means zero here. You cannot practice law, you cannot give legal advice. So another red flag if they say they're a lawyer from another country. Also, you have the right to ask that person, what state are you licensed in? California, Texas, Florida, New York. What license do you hold? And I'd like your bar number, or go online and put State Bar of California, State Bar of Florida, State Bar of New York, and of course the other 47 states. All you write is before it State Bar. Once you go in there, there's a search engine in which you can put that person's name in to see if they're really a lawyer, one, and two, if they have any disciplinary or suspension proceedings, or maybe they've been a lawyer but now they've been suspended and they don't longer have a license to practice law. So you want to check those things also. Don't be ashamed or afraid or fearful of checking that person. And what I've been saying over the weeks that we've started this English Facebook Live is always seek a second opinion. If it sounds too good to be true, it's probably not true in the area of immigration law. If someone wants all their money up front, as I said earlier, if they meet in strange places, if they do not give you anything that is signed in your language, I would run. Also, they should give you a contract. A contract should specify several things: the cost, the payment plan, what exactly that person is promising to do, what it includes, what it doesn't include. Does it include then pursuing the case in court if it gets denied with immigration? Does it include an appeal? Does it include the attorney going with you? How many times is the attorney going with you? Ask for as much specificity as possible on that contract. So very important. Second, if they issue a contract and they say, here it is, sign, and you don't understand it, ask for it to be translated before you sign. And if you get calls at your home or at your work, on your cell, repeatedly asking you to come retain after you've seen them because you're seeking a second opinion, or you were smart enough to say, I'm going to think about this, I'll come back, and they call you insistently. Most lawyers, we're so busy, rarely do we have time to call clients back to pursue a case. We'll call back because we've asked the client to get more information for us. We have a query, we say, find that out, get me those documents, I'll call you back to see what they say so I can make a proper evaluation. But if they're calling you to retain and to start a case, when and it's repeated, I would say, because it's not one time, it's more like a salesperson that's calling over and over again, that is another red flag. So be very cautious. It's important that during these trying times for the immigrant community, that not only is fear hurting us, but now to be ripped off economically would be another thing on top of the fear, which would then damage the family even more with a lack of economic resources when they're charging $10,000 and more for these types of cases. So please get a second opinion. It's very easy to get a second opinion with an immigration lawyer. If you say, well, I don't know one, I've said this before, AILA.org, AILA.org has a full listing. It's a nonprofit organization. It's not a group of for private lawyers. It's an organization that umbrellas immigration lawyers. And basically you put your zip code in and it'll give you a list of lawyers in your area. Ask for a consultation. Some are free, some have a fee, and seek advice and tell that lawyer, this is what this other person is offering me. Does it sound right? Is this something I should pursue? And that lawyer hopefully will be honest with you and hopefully save you not only thousands of dollars, but you're basically turning yourself into immigration when you file these applications, because in the end, once you're denied, they're going to say you're denied and you have so much time to leave the country. So be very cautious again. It's a sad note that I'm seeing, but it's happening. Very well. Y vamos a decirle que los que nos están viendo y que están diciéndole a su hijo, a su hija, tradúceme por favor, que los jueves es en español el Facebook Live, a las 7 de la noche, hora del Pacífico, a las 10 de la noche, hora del este. Para algunos que han dicho que no hablo español y por eso lo hago en inglés, no es así, sino que queremos alcanzar un ámbito mucho más grande de poder ayudar a más y más personas que necesitan información de inmigración. Nos vemos el jueves en español. Now back to English.
Thank you so much. The first question is from Penelope Ramirez. Is it possible for an immigration reform for people who don't have any felonies?
Well, I'm hopeful that immigration reform will happen. I don't know if we can see it happening anytime soon. However, there was one immigration reform, and that was during the Reagan era in 1986. It was passed and it took effect in 87 to 88, only 1 year, and that covered 3 million people. Everyone knows we need immigration reform. We need to fix the immigration laws. All aspects, not just enforcement, but the benefits branch of it too, because there are many people that have served this country very well. They've had children here, they have property, they have excellent conduct, and they've been good citizens, but albeit without documents, and they've been working and helping and contributing. So the need is there. We're just hoping that Congress will sit down and actually draft a bill that will be approved by both sides, and that's the challenge. So hopefully there'll be something soon.
I came with an H-2B visa in 2004 and I overstayed. Last March I got a DUI and I also have an open case for domestic violence. Will my DUI affect the approval of my Visa U? I already did my biometrics in February.
Okay. Well, the DUI is a serious offense under immigration laws, and so is domestic violence. Some crimes, just a brief history of immigration laws, some crimes make you inadmissible and some crimes make you deportable. Inadmissible means that when you want to get your green card for the first time, if you have a history of some crimes, you're ineligible to immigrate. And deportable means once you have a green card and you commit certain crimes, you can lose your green card and be sent back home and deported. So fortunately, neither of these crimes alone make you inadmissible, but I would, if I were you, seek counsel with your immigration attorney and a criminal attorney and see if you can somehow minimize at least one of those crimes. Vacate it, throw it out, make it a different, change it from domestic violence to perhaps battery, change it from DUI, which is driving under the influence, to perhaps reckless driving. But you always want to look your best when applying for immigration. Now, if you're applying for a U visa, there are waivers, fortunately, under the U visa if you've been a victim of a violent crime.
Miguel Jr. I got a citation for marijuana. I'm doing a program that allows my case to be dropped after I finish my community service. Can I still apply for my citizenship after it gets dropped?
Well, I'd have to see. I've mentioned this before as well, that there are 50 laws that cover criminal law. There are 50 different sets of penal codes in this nation because every state makes their own laws. I'd have to see if in your state, whatever it is you say are minimized or drop or reduced, see if that in effect eliminates the crime completely, then you may be eligible. We have to remember that for citizenship, they have a higher standard than for becoming a resident. And an immigration officer has a lot of discretion. They're going to look at your case and they'll say, do I like this person that I see has a drug conviction or a drug citation as a citizen of the United States? And in his or her discretion can say yes or no. So very important that you seek advice. Take the record, that's called a docket sheet. That means that's the summary of what the judge rendered in your case. Once you get this, you finish your community work and you get this somehow cleaned up, take that as well to an immigration attorney, and then that attorney will look and see if it would render you eligible to apply. They still have discretion and can say yes or no, but we don't want you applying where maybe the officer would say, I want to put your case under deportation proceedings just for trying to become a citizen. So be very cautious. I'm not trying to scare you, just be cautious.
David de la Rosa. I'm a resident and I just applied to become an American citizen. Can I leave the country while I have my application for vacation?
Of course you can. Just remember there are 3 appointments for naturalization. The first one, within about 60 to 30 days of filing, you'll have a fingerprint appointment. The second one is the exam for citizenship and history in government, and that's about 3 to 6 months after you filed. And the last appointment is the day where you get an American flag, your certificate, and there's actually a ceremony with thousands of people, and you take your oath, and that day you become a citizen. So you just want to be mindful that those are the 3 appointments that can happen in approximate times, and also not travel too long, and make sure that you leave your address, phone number, location, so that your lawyer or whoever's helping you out or whoever's picking up your mail can call you and tell you that you have one of those interviews, which you don't want to miss. They can be rescheduled, but then the case takes a lot longer.
Fernanda Ramirez. My dad decided to return his residency many years ago when I was underage. We then moved to Colombia. Is it possible that I too may have lost my residency? How can I find out?
Very good question. Now, residency and citizenship is individual. Even if you all immigrated as a group, a family, a mother, a father, 3 children, that doesn't mean that if one of the 5 people that got the green card loses it, the whole family loses it. Generally not. There's some cases where if you have conditional residency, it could affect the whole family. But if your father turned in and handed in his green card saying, I don't want to live in the United States anymore, and went back home, it wouldn't affect you, a son or daughter. However, you haven't told me where you've lived. If you went back to Colombia with your father and you've been out for more than a year, then you may have been deemed to have abandoned your permanent residence. So again, I would definitely seek consultation with an immigration attorney, tell them your history, when you got here, all your trips, how long you've been out, and that person would be able to analyze the dates and tell you if in fact you still have a green card or not.
Yomaya would like to know the following. My mom tried to renew her green card today in the U.S. Embassy in Mexico. She's been out of the country for 7 months now because our brother was very ill. She's an elderly woman. The U.S. Embassy suggested that she get a letter of transportation. How much would it cost, and what do you recommend?
A letter of transportation, I'm sorry, I've never heard that. And again, I've been practicing a long, long time. What I think they're asking is probably 2 things. Probably proof of why she was out so long, and I would definitely get letters from the doctor stating that she had a son or child she was taking care of because he was ill. And second of all, they probably want to make sure that you have a valid passport from your home country so that you can board a plane. And you shouldn't have to, well, you can renew your green card. It's called an I-90 application, and you can do it abroad or get some kind of document that will allow you to get on an airplane to come back to the United States and then apply what's called an I-90, which is a replacement of your card within the United States. If there's a different name for this, feel free to again ask your question on Thursday when we have the same section in Spanish, or next Tuesday, and clarify a little more, and I'd be happy to answer.
Navla Galip. Why is DACA renewal taking so long, and what do I need to do if my card is expired so I can expedite it?
Well, I recommend all DACA dreamers, young people that have DACA, please don't wait more than, you should be looking at your card and tracking it backwards and seeing when it expires and applying for the new renewal 6 months before. It's taking so long. Why? Who knows? Apparently there's a huge backlog. There's lack of personnel. There's a lot of applications. They don't have the priority they had before. So I think it's a little bit of all of that. I wouldn't doubt if they are vetting the applications a lot more now. In other words, they're really inspecting them all, doing more background checks than they were before under this administration. So that is sad, unfortunately. However, the remedy for the community that's applying for DACA renewals is to apply 6 months before.
Germán Estrada. I have TPS for Honduras. I'm a truck driver and also have 4 children that were born here. My question is, as a truck driver, can I apply for residence? And yes, there are truck driver shortages. That's why I'm asking.
Well, unfortunately, no, not as a truck driver. People can immigrate, some people can immigrate through their profession, through their occupation, if the employer wants to sponsor them. It's called a labor certification. However, you cannot have illegal presence as of 97 to date. So if you've been here since 97 and any gap in time you've been here out of status, a year out of status, then you applied for TPS, then you wouldn't be eligible. So you have to check. Basically, I like to see all the TPS cards, make sure there are no gaps in time, that the person, since they got here, pretty much has been in legal status. Then an employer can petition for you. Now, there are thousands of jobs that qualify and thousands that do not. Maybe there's a shortage, but they also want to see that there's a skill. And in my experience, they like managerial positions. Like say you were a truck driver and you're the supervisor of the truck driving team. That would make you eligible. And it's not the difficulty or not. I could never drive a truck, so I know that there's a lot of talent to perform that job. But a housekeeper can immigrate through her job, and it's not a hard job. I mean, it's physically demanding, but it's not hard to learn. Yet somebody that is a warehouse, that works in a warehouse doesn't, because there's no demand. So 2 agencies get involved in helping someone immigrate through their work. The Department of Labor, which is checking to make sure that nobody is being displaced because of this position, and that the wages are adequate, that there's a shortage, and the Department of Immigration. So they work hand in hand.
Janet Cruz. I'm a dreamer and my permit will expire January 25th of 2018. When can I start my paperwork to renew my permit, and how long does it take to get it?
Good timing. I would start renewing it May, or well, May's almost over, so June is a perfect month since your permit expires in January, and it's taking roughly 6 months. I've seen some get granted in 4, I've seen some granted in 7 or 8 months, but the average is 6 months, so start now.
Noe Barajas. Are people being detained on local flights by ICE?
Well, I think I spoke of this in the English version. There was a flight originating in San Francisco that went to the East Coast. I think it was New York. And there was an ICE officer at the exit of the plane checking every single passenger, asking for ID. They alleged that they were looking for 1 person or 2 people. Nobody was ever found on the plane that was arrested or detained, but they asked everyone deplaning to show proof of their identity. Not a green card, but proof of their identity. So that's already been an incident. I know that they have presence in airports, so obviously that's a risk. Now, are they detaining just people randomly? Not yet, and I hope it doesn't happen. But yet, my recommendation is always to get into the airport and get out as soon as you can. No lingering around if it's not necessary. Have identification documents. Last week I talked about 5 or 6 states that are now going to ask for a different form of identification other than a driver's license. So make sure that you look at the TSA recommendations, that nothing's changed for your particular state.
Thank you so much. And this is the last question. It's from Lorenia Stearns. She would like to know the following. Her husband, who is an American citizen, would like to help her obtain her residency. They currently live in Mexico, and she would like to know what form he needs to fill out in order to help her.
Perfect. It doesn't matter where you live. I didn't hear if they both live in Mexico, but usually the application's filed in the United States. If he's outside the United States, some embassies will entertain receiving the application. It's called the I-130. That's the original application to commence the process to get a green card. The process will end in Ciudad Juarez at the American Embassy. Now, you haven't told me if you've had a visa, if you've ever been here in the United States, because there are ways of maybe starting the case in Mexico and concluding it in the United States. You might also be eligible for a Fiance Visa. I know you're already married, but the Fiance Visa covers fiancés as well as married couples to U.S. citizens. Then that application would be filed in Mexico. You get a Fiance Visa, you enter the United States, and then you also file the corresponding I-130. But the most important application, it's a yellow form. It's called the I-130. You can download it on the website for immigration, uscis.gov.
Diego Murcia. My cousin went out with advanced parole, DACA, and came back. Can she get the residency with her mom? Her mom is a U.S. citizen, and my cousin is 26 years old.
Yes, of course he can. However, he's an adult. Immigration has two lines to immigrate through a parent. One is children from 0 to 20, and once they turn 21, they go into an adult line, and that's for 21-year-olds and over. And a parent immigrating a child that is already 21, an adult child, the waits are really long. To give you an example, if the mother is a U.S. citizen and that child is from Mexico, this is why I get so upset when people ignorantly say, wait in line, wait your turn. The wait for a child that's an adult is anywhere from 20 to 30 years. That's how long it takes because there's a quota system and there's a wait that is very, very, very long. It's absurd. Now, for other countries, it's less, but there are countries in high demand, and the waits are outrageous. But yes, of course, she can apply for the mother or the father that's a U.S. citizen for an adult child. Just be prepared to wait years. If she would have applied when he was 20, it would only take a year. Very well. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Please share this information. Some of you are regulars and are friends, and thank you for continuing to watch us every week and hopefully learn more about immigration law. And some of you are new. Those of you that are new, if this was of any help for you or in any way opened up some windows and answered some questions, please share this information so that more people can join on. And I'll see you on Thursday in Espanol, and I'll see you in English next Tuesday. Hasta la próxima. Have a good night.